folks, it's now time for a K-Dog Goes to the Movies. Of course, I haven't done one of these in quite a little while. As you can see, I've grown this out, and and plus with the pandemic going on, I thought this is actually the first time I've actually gone to a movie in over a year since the pandemic began. Yeah, so tonight I chose to go see a documentary that just came out. Mainly because I chose to go see this film because, I'm kind of in this field myself, playing, if you're a worship leader in a church or in a band or whatever, you're playing music. And of course, we do play worship music and contemporary Christian music. So the film I saw tonight was The Jesus Music, released by Lionsgate Entertainment, directed by the Irwin Brothers. In case you don't know who the Irwin Brothers are, they directed films like I Can Only Imagine, I Still Believe, Woodlawn, just to name a few. Mom's Night Out, I think, is part of their. I think that's part of their filmography. But for the first time, as far as I know, they've chosen to direct a documentary. This film is all about contemporary Christian music, and as I pretty much stated. And the film talks about contemporary Christian music's beginnings back in the late 60s and early 70s at a church called Calvary Chapel, and how the kind of the hippies, it was about hippies coming to know Jesus, and Billy Graham endorsing these young kids, and and welcoming their new music to help them discover who they are, what Christ has done for them. And it also goes on to talk about, in the 80s, in the 90s, and into the 2000s. And kind of what happened is that this is a genre that was fairly brand new to the recording industry, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew, and still to this day brings in multi-million dollars to the recording industry, and just the amount of revenue that it generates. But the film does talk about the positive and the negative. And it's kind of hard to talk about this because we tend to think of these people as people that have it all together, and that they're so perfect and they're pristine, they have a perfect walk with Christ, they have a perfect walk with God, when the truth is, no, they don't. They're broken. They're broken people. And it's how this is the revenue that they choose to bring healing and cure what's inside of them. The film does talk about the positive, definitely. That record sales and the amount of what inspired them musically to make Christian music and things like that. But it also talks about the dirty laundry. It talks about because there's several groups and artists featured throughout the film. you know, oh, I'm trying to think like groups like DC Talk, Toby Mac, Amy Grant, and that's just to name a few, because you know you're talking about a whole category of music here, and it does get into a bit of the dirty laundry that what each person has, and how the church reacted to that when something happened. For example, and this is probably one of the more famous ones, when Amy Grant divorced her husband and married Vince Gill. And Vince Gill was married to somebody else at the time as well, and how the church and so-called Christians badmouthed her and took her off Christian. Some stations quit playing her altogether. Churches forbid their congregation to even listen to her music again. Yeah, stuff like that. Even the group Striper. Here was a group that was playing heavy metal. They were on MTV, and they were #1 for several weeks, beating out groups like Motley Crue and Poison and some of these big hairspray bands. And to have somebody like Jimmy Swaggart on television holding up their album and saying this is straight out of the pit of hell, just because it was rock and roll. But to be honest, I'm going to be honest myself, as I have my own problems. I have my own addictions. I'm a broken person. But is the church at fault? No, but the church can be hurtful at times. That's one negative thing I have about this film, is that the church, they don't say it, but they kind of depict the church as being a bit of a bad guy here. But the truth, the church isn't the bad guy. The bad guy's the devil that's, causing the spirit of confusion and division and separation. And we could even debate this about preachers, pastors, denominations, and matter of fact, our church has been discussing this. We just started this discussion this past Thursday night at my own church, and it's a question that Pontius Pilate actually asked. And he asked this to Jesus himself when he was about to be crucified, and that is, what is truth? And so you have some preachers and teachers that were saying stuff that music was straight out of the pit of hell, because it used a syncopated beat, it used modern music and things of that nature. But it's, it's just because it's not your preference doesn't mean that it's good or bad. That has nothing to do with it. But as an as an overall film, I think it's a very good film. It does have some minor issues in it, but like I said, they don't say it, but they kind of point that the church is a little bit of a bad guy here, and how the church can be hurtful. But if anything else, the church isn't about one person. It is about one person. It's only about Christ. Excuse me. So I misspoke. And I'm trying to get my thoughts out about this film because, and the film has some great stories. Some great stories. The way I think is best describing their church as each one of these musical artists is the people that they go out and play concerts to, and they call it ministry, and I believe that wholeheartedly, that it is ministry, a ministerial thing for them, but also it's therapeutic because a lot of these people, they are broken. And I think that's a problem that we have as Christians. We put these people, and I mean like musicians and artists and televangelists and specific preachers and teachers, we put them on this high pedestal. And when they do something that is wrong, we go, how dare you, how could you, and we kind of wag our finger in their faces and you disappoint me because you were supposed to be like God. Well, the truth of the matter is they're broken people like you and I. They're not perfect. They have some issues. But what I'm going to say is the only thing that we can do is love them. Pray for them. Because they need it now more than ever. But other than that, yeah, it was great to be back going to a movie, let alone in a movie theater. But what I thought was really cool about this film, I kind of felt like I was part of their story a little bit, because here in recent years I've had a chance to meet and talk with some of these artists. I'll flash up some pictures here. One in particular is Glenn Kaiser from Res Band. He's in the film talking about the early days of contemporary Christian music, because that's when Res Band or Resurrection Band was formed. But when I met him, he was doing the Glenn Kaiser Band, his blues band. And another picture here is of Petra. Just saw them in concert. That's all I did. But with Glenn Kaiser, I actually ran sound for the guy. So, but Petra, just saw them in concert and did a meet and greet with them. And then the last picture here is with the late Carmen. And again, I was fortunate enough to do sound for the man. He came to our church, and yeah, and it was definitely an honor to be his sound man. He called me Maestro. But yeah, Carmen isn't in the film, but some of his music videos and clips and stuff is used. But however, he isn't talked about. I think that was kind of a disappointment that he wasn't talked about, because he was a big guy at that time. So yeah, the Jesus music. If you can see it in the theater, go see it in the theater. If not, I'm sure it'll be on DVD and Blu-ray sometime soon. So, from me to you, see you later.
Let's not forget, music is God's idea.
I think music is the most powerful universal language in the world.
Music was a lifeline.
It became part of the fabric of who I was.
It pushed me to do some courageous things.
It touches the soul like somebody talking to you can't. And you can do all of that in 3.5 minutes.